Hello and welcome to the TwoFiveOh, the podcast where you just have to pull the trigger. I'm Douglas, and with me as always is my co-host Jonathan. How are you, Jonathan?
Yeah, as good as I can be.
The recurring theme for this episode. If this is your first time tuning into the TwoFiveOh, we have taken a snapshot of IMDb's top 250 movies of all time as of January 2020, and have begun watching them from number 250 through to number 1. In this podcast, we discuss our opinions, thoughts, and reactions to the movies within. Today's movie, number 247, The Battle of Algiers.
The Battle of Algiers is a historical film detailing the struggle for control over the capital city of French Algeria between the recently humiliated French military and the Muslim Algerian people seeking independence. A deeply controversial film, The Battle of Algiers paints a vivid picture of the nasty reality of revolution and asks more hard questions than answers. So I just want to open by saying that we're just two dumb Australians and we didn't really know about the Algerian conflict before we watched this film. So we're being incredibly careful, but there is some potential we're going to say something that might be inaccurate or we might put our foot in our mouths. So we're just going to try our absolute best to stick to the clearest facts we get our hands on, and we're just going to kind of treat the whole thing with the discretion it deserves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this was a very controversial film, in France especially. We did some reading, a lot of reading about this one, a lot more than we've done with the other films. And it's basically, I guess I was so put out at the start because the content is very rough. It's very real, I think, is the main striking thing about this film. And to me, there are just so many moments in this film where you think it's so horrific that surely it's fictional, but then you kind of, the more you dwell on it and think about it, you're like, this isn't fiction, this happened. Mm-hmm. And that is a deeply disturbing realization, but a realization that I think does need to be had nonetheless. It's definitely not a fun experience watching this film.
No,
but it was definitely touted because it was incredibly accurate. There was an incredible, attention to detail with telling both sides of the story very equally. I gather a lot of people agree the amount of kind of political bias and stuff on it is about as low as you can realistically get on a film like this.
Absolutely.
Which makes it just like an amazing piece of media because of that.
The way it is so incredibly balanced, it neither favours the Algerians nor the French, I think is quite a masterstroke by the director Guillaume Pontecorvo. Credit to him for being able to walk that tightrope so well, because the original script that was proposed was very favouring to the Algerians and painted them, as the real protagonists of the film and the heroes, and then the French were definitely the antagonists and the bad guys. And Guillaume Pontecorvo denied that version. He said, no, we're not going to run with that. And so himself and Franco Solinas both wrote their own screenplay, which is the screenplay that we have. And I think it's, really, really amazingly done.
It's really interesting.
Yes.
It is an incredibly interesting film. I'm really glad our next film is Aladdin, because that will be a nice palate cleanser.
Yeah.
But just to give, I don't want to go too in depth because I kind of want to, it's not spoilers, but it's kind of more fun to talk about after the break. The Battle of Algiers, the titular Battle of Algiers, finished in 1959. This film was released in 1966.
Correct.
I believe.
Yep.
Which is like, holy shit, they turned this film out 7 years after the historical actual event.
And Algiers gained its independence in 1962.
1962. So it was like 4 years after that. It's crazy.
The wounds were very much still open, I think.
But it means you can get this level of accuracy because
absolutely.
It was, less than a decade ago, which is wild. It's really crazy. And I guess that's kind of the thing with the thing I've had to focus on with this film because it's deeply distressing. But it's just this is such an amazing piece of media because of that. So yeah, I guess in terms of whether I would recommend it, I would be cautious about it. I would, if you go into it knowing it's going to be a bit of a bummer, but very, very realistic, then, I mean, if you watch a lot of war films then, or documentaries and stuff, you'd probably be all for it. I tend to avoid that kind of thing, so I was a bit mixed on it, but it was very, very impressive. Basically, the writing just completely carries this film.
Yeah.
You're just constantly and you look through all the plot points, you're this is basically how it happened. That's really crazy.
I think this is the type of film that if you're aware of what you're getting into in terms of the context of Algeria, what was happening at the time, and if you're interested in that kind of information and the war and a more kind of contemporary view of what happened, then this film will definitely pique your interest. And if you're a war film fanatic, I would say that this film is kind of a staple in that I think the blueprint of this film could be applied to just about any war. There is never one side only that suffers casualties in a war. I believe very strongly that in any war, both sides suffer casualties, be them obviously financial, loss of life, loss of land. There's always some form of loss. There is gain as well, be it greed or power or whatever it is. But I think the blueprint of this film is kind of timeless in a very unsettling way, and I think it's again credit to Pontecorvo for being able to portray that as well as he did and as rawly as he did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would recommend this film for war film fanatics, most definitely.
100%. And they probably won't have the issues with it that I had.
Absolutely, so. Yeah. I think, you definitely have to be mentally prepared for this movie.
Something like that, yeah.
There's no real... there is some imagery that is, unsettling, but it's not like the kind of stuff that Apocalypse Now is going to have and things like that, It's not... There's no real gore, there's no, none of that kind of imagery, but just there are certain scenes and sequences that are rather striking. So, I think you need to be prepared for that. And if you are aware of that and happy to go along with this film to see that kind of realism and that what is painted, then, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah. So a cautious recommendation.
Yes, yeah. Most definitely.
Or you could just skip it and watch Aladdin. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you can just skip forward and wait until next week when we do Aladdin if you really want to.
Yeah. Whatever. We're not getting paid for this. It's okay.
Exactly.
Spoiler time.
Yeah.
If you don't watch the film before you hear the spoiler siren, then that's fine.
Oh.
That's okay.
That's nice.
I feel like it would be a bit grotesque for me to say something gross now.
For the particular...
That's okay. I understand. It's 2 hours. I get it.
You're reading the room. Good man.
Yeah. All right, put the foghorns. Okay.
Good. I think just straight off the bat, obviously the one thing that is concurrent throughout the film, the decision to film in black and white.
Yeah,
I found that really interesting. And
that was weird.
Doing some reading on that, apparently it was used to give the film the look of a newsreel or a documentary film.
Okay.
And I believe that was to make it more palatable to Western releases. Because if they filmed it more like a newsreel or a documentary, then it would be more... A, it would feel more real, and B, it would I think, strike a little bit harder than if it were portrayed as a fictional kind of, they did the typical fictional angles and things like that. A lot of the cinematography in this film I found very interesting, in that you're never too close to the action. There's always, I feel like whenever there is some big action going down, you're kind of like a fly on the wall that's watching, and then the French are kind of protecting the camera from what's going down.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, I don't know, I found that really unique. And yeah, a lot of the cinematography is not traditional cinematography. I think it's more...
it's definitely not filmed for to be like exciting. It's which I think is potentially why it like bummed me out so much. It's like it's a lot of the shots are pretty flat, like wide angles. There are a lot of like very close shots on people in like harrowing emotional moments, but a lot of the like quote unquote action scenes are just like, here is a camera that's someone stuck on a tripod that you can kind of see what's going on, but it's not kind of glorified through that, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I guess this kind of folds back into the concept of neorealism, Italian neorealistic theatre. Which I was out reading about the history and stuff. I put Douglas on the neorealism angle. I'm like, give me some info on neorealism. I want pictures of neorealism on my... What's he say? What's the fucking... Jonah J... What's his name? Fuck.
Oh, Jonah J. Jameson. Oh my god.
I want pictures of...
I want pictures on my desk.
I got my feet up on my desk. I've got like a massive cigar.
Doing the laugh.
So we were chatting about this, and Douglas pulls out this just jargon-filled... Did you save that?
Yeah, no, I can...
Give it to me.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, so... Theories and practices of realism in the context of fascist imperialism anticipate and influence post-war Italian neorealism, which has therefore been inaccurately presented as a rebirth or, quote, return, unquote, to realism after the, quote, lies, unquote, of fascism. So I read that and I just went, I am wildly unqualified to be talking about this subject. So...
It's like the third time I've heard it, and I don't understand a word that is said.
I'm not.
But I gather the like big scope concept of neorealism, or like I guess realism as a like film technique. The film is basically shot, as if it were a documentary or something.
Correct.
And it's kind of kept as close to that as possible. There's not loads of music. You are making me think about it. The whole newsreel thing. The one time that the music really grabs you is there's
the three women.
Two or three shots. Oh, that one has this like ominous music on it, doesn't it?
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. No, the one that really got me was when they have the bits with the French soldiers kind of like storming the quarters.
Yeah.
So there's one like right at the start, and there's one a bit further in. It's got very... I can just describe it as like army music. It seems like something that was in like The Great Escape or something. Kind of sort of upbeat and a bit like brassy type stuff, which I think probably fits with a newsreel kind of concept pretty well.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Like almost like a propaganda piece type thing.
Yeah. That is to say, this film is the furthest thing from a propaganda piece that possibly could be. I think had they gone with the original script that Sadi Youssef originally proposed, this film would have been a propaganda film by every stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, I cannot stress this enough. Credit to Guillaume Pontecorvo for doing pretty much what I can only imagine is the hardest job of a director, to be able to take that screenplay and present it in such an unbiased view that I do not feel envious of his job for this film.
So I might just skim the history of the fight, the conflict. So the whole film is kind of based on the kind of memoirs of a FLN, I believe he was a leader, Sadi Youssef.
Yep.
So he was, a leader in that conflict. And he then goes on to act as the character El Hadi Jafar, who I think was fictional.
Yes. Yep.
Which is like, holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. So basically, the kind of spark notes of the conflict was that in the 19th and 20th century, Algeria was ruled as a part of France. But the Muslim Algerians were denied a lot of rights, so the large majority of them couldn't vote. They all faced higher taxes, and they generally lived in like segregated areas. So that's what the whole concept of like the Muslim and the European quarters was. In the 1930s, there were some nationalist and kind of revolutionary movements that started out in the countryside, and they started attacking military targets in like guerrilla warfare. And it took them until 55 to start to reach cities and attack civilians and French people there. So definitely not all Muslims were part of the FLN. The Nationalist Liberation Federation, I believe is what it was. So definitely not all the Muslims were part of that. Some were hired by the French, or I guess as like mercenaries almost. Some out of loyalty, some of them out of kind of retribution, because the attacks from the FLN killed a lot of the like actual Algerians in the country as well.
There was a lot of collateral damage.
And many of them stayed neutral or outright disagreed with the FLN's actions and their policies. So and I think it's pretty well shown in the film that it was not all one big group of people that were doing these things. It was definitely just like a group of the people who kind of led this revolution.
Yeah.
So the French won control of the city in 1959, but the public opinion dropped pretty quickly, both in France and internationally. And in 1962, France signed the Evian Accords, and that led to the independence of Algeria in July of the same year.
Yeah.
So the death count is a bit contentious, but the Algerian government estimates about 1 million casualties in total, and the French estimate about 350k, which is in either case a pretty horrendous number.
Yeah.
The war also resulted in about 2 million Algerian refugees and 1 million European refugees. So that's what we're dealing with. Very high energy kind of situation.
Yeah. Woohoo! Just the bit. There's kind of, for me, I think there's a big turning point in the film, and that's with the 3 women who are going to set the bombs for the FLN. And up until that point, we've only ever seen the French being portrayed as the antagonists. You know, we've seen them setting up checkpoints. They're all military and police targets. All military, yep. They're all, they are the army. They've been roughing up all of the locals, and they are the antagonist. And then we get this section where these women are planting these bombs in these French locales, districts, and it's so polarizing to see. Like, there's so much joy and happiness in these French civilians. They're dancing and eating and laughing, and then you enter the perspective of these women as they know that in the name of freedom they have to do the same thing, that they have to do these unspeakable acts and slaughter this innocence that they're trying to defend. And it's, for me, that's where I kind of go, right, so there is no favoring here.
No.
It's all bad on both sides. There is the fact that they were so complicit in murder and terror, in both regards, I think is, a very horrific but enlightening take on it.
Yeah. And so you've got on the other hand of this, there's these bombings, but on the other hand, there's all this torture that's going on that is kind of depicted as well.
The French torturing and the locals.
And you definitely don't come out of it either way going like it's the film doesn't really have a perspective on it. It kind of goes like, what do you think?
Yeah, it definitely leaves the moral high ground up to you, which is both an uncomfortable feeling, but also I'm glad, I'm very glad that it doesn't do the, yep, the French were the bad guys, fuck off if you think differently. Like, it really does go, hey, just, you've seen all that. Yeah, what do you think? Which I think is, very important.
So the film has two of the key characters. I'd say like Omar Ali is the actually I think his surname is something else, but Ali is kind of one of the key characters. He's more or less like the main character, although you don't see loads of him, which was once again something I kind of understood, but it was kind of tough to have like a non-standard film structure like that. There isn't one guy you're following. You hang out with Ali for maybe half the film. It jumps around between a lot of characters.
I think the main characters of the film are Algeria and France. Like,
I guess so.
As a whole.
That makes sense.
And then they're not specifically portrayed through. There's Ali, and then there's the French colonel.
Colonel Mathieu.
Philippe Mathieu. I don't think that they are portrayed through those characters. I think they are just... they're not even vessels, but they are just, they are a part of the grander picture, And there is such little time put into those characters as much as there is just the overall picture.
Events, I guess.
Yeah. But just talking about characters, the amount of extras in this film is insane.
It's pretty insane, yeah.
The bit with the children and when they're beating up that drunk guy.
Yeah.
I like the amount of organization that it would have had to have taken for just them to gather all those kids together and then go, okay, we're going to need you to beat this dude up and like kind of toss him down the stairs a little bit, but don't actually hurt him. And then we kind of want you to progressively, gang up on him and then, but don't hurt anyone. Like, it's such a nightmare for like health and safety. I can't believe it. And then there's that scene right after the French retaliate with a bomb, that first bomb. And then there's a scene with Ali like leading the brigade of all of the Algerians. And
that's right.
They're all chanting and wailing and screaming and stuff, and just the shots of them and just how many there are is it blows my mind. I'm like, how do you get that many people that organized?
It does make it feel so realistic.
Absolutely,
though. It really does feel like a documentary with the bits like that.
And that's also probably a trait of neorealism, is casting unprofessional actors. I believe the only quote-unquote professional actor was Jean Martin, or Jean Martin, as I'm sure it's probably pronounced.
Something like that.
But he's the only one that has he has a background in acting. He was a French actor who worked primarily in theatre, but Pontecorvo wanted someone who wouldn't be familiar to most audiences because it could have interfered with the movie's realism.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, a heavy trait of neorealism, is that if, like, they had, I don't know, some big, heavy shot lead in this film, it would not have hit as hard as it did if they didn't have the guy who plays Ali. I think it's Brahim Hajjaj. I'm going to take a stab at that one and call that.
We'll go with that. I think you can just say that you don't entirely know how to pronounce it.
Absolutely. But him being the unknown lead, I think is, it's just, it adds that extra layer of realism to the film.
Yeah, it's very convincing. So Jean Martin's character, Philippe Mathieu, is actually a completely fictional character, and I mean, I think he's one of the few fictional characters.
Correct. I think they intended him to be a embodiment of a couple of actual figures in the war.
Yeah.
So they wanted...
Without actually putting those characters in
Correct. There. So without actually naming names, they just wanted to kind of
depict the kind of mindset that a lot of them were taking.
They're counterinsurgency officers. Yeah.
He was really, really good.
Yeah, definitely.
He has a bunch of really cool lines. I wish I'd written more of them down. But yeah, there's the scene with him talking to the journalists where he says, should France stay in Algeria? If your answer is yes, then you must accept the consequences.
Yeah,
which is like
strong line.
All right.
strong line.
Yikes. And that's constantly just like the journalists twig on the fact that maybe this isn't as great as it sort of seems pretty quickly.
Yeah.
They pick up on, who is it? One of the leaders gets captured. One of the leaders of the FLN get captured during the battle. And then he was basically unceremoniously executed in his cell.
Yeah.
And then the story told to the media was that he committed suicide. Which is
where have we heard that before?
That doesn't seem like a very 2019 move.
Nah.
But so that's and basically Philippe Mathieu is just like, well, this is what we're here to do, and we're fighting with terrorists, and
these are the consequences.
And the film does definitely to some degree go like, that's bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Murdering people and torturing people is not good.
I mean, like, I think that's just kind of an accepted fact, though. Like, surely.
So the film does very much. It doesn't paint France as the good guys, really. It just also doesn't give the Algerian, like the French, I keep thinking they're French Liberation something because it's FLN.
FLN, yeah.
They give the FLN, so they don't give the FLN a free pass.
No.
They do very much highlight all the atrocities that they did.
But I think at the same time, it doesn't glorify the violence. I think that's a very important thing. There was a lot of discussion about its portrayal of terror attacks and then the result of this film and its influence on terror attacks that have happened between, the release of this film and now. There's a lot of conversation to be had there, but I don't think that it glorifies that in any way. Every action has its reaction and its consequence in this film. And you see that in raw detail. Every single action that either side takes, you see the reaction and you see that consequence in its rawest form. So, yeah, it definitely doesn't glorify violence in any way, which I think is very important.
Yeah. Do you have any other major points in terms of actual film critique with this?
No, I don't really have much else to say beyond that. I think just the visual style was very striking. The decision to film in black and white. Obviously, I think you don't need color to paint a film that is this vivid. Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite black and white films that I've ever seen.
I guess so. I'm not sure I've seen that many of them, so it's kind of hard to compare. But yeah.
The way that it still paints its image so vividly without the need of color. I think is
there's that
very
one
powerful.
scene. The one scene with Ali and the three others in the little hidey hole is such a good shot.
Yes,
and
the lighting in that is sublime,
amazing. But the film is mostly not trying to be dramatic; it's trying to be realistic, and it does do a really good job of that.
Absolutely. That's about all I got.
Yeah. Sorry, this is a short one, guys.
Yeah. And it's not that we didn't enjoy the film. I'm speaking for myself here. I definitely enjoyed this film. And it's not that we're cutting this short because, we're like, I don't want to talk about it. It's more that I don't want to say something incorrect. I don't want to give an opinion, or not give an opinion even, just say something that could be either misconstrued or this is a very sensitive topic, and I really want to treat it with the respect that it deserves. And
it feels to me like a piece of media where you either talk about it for 20 minutes or you talk about it for 4 hours.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much conversation out there that is deeply philosophical and very complex. And you can, the questions, is torture okay? Like, is there a situation where you can justify torture, where you can justify bombing civilians? It's, what does it say about kind of the society that was the focus of this film is something that you need to do so much reading on, honestly. But it is definitely the film where you watch it and you're like, shit, there's a lot of stuff I want to read about this now. This is very, very interesting.
There's just so much to unpack, and I don't feel fully qualified to be able to unpack it. With the experience that I have, with the knowledge that I have of politics and what happened in that time period, neither of us were bloody born in that time period.
Oh no.
So
our parents were born.
Yeah, I just don't feel fully qualified to talk about it, but I am, as I've said, I'm more than happy to give my opinions and thoughts on it as a piece of media. And that's what our job here is to do. We are giving you our opinions and thoughts on 250 plus some extras pieces of media. And if we don't do our job correctly, then throw us to the curb, because you wouldn't hire a mechanic if he couldn't fix your car. So
yeah, exactly.
That's about that. I do have some trivia though.
Oh, okay.
Would you like me to do some trivia, Jonathan?
I would like some trivia, Douglas.
Well, here's some trivia for me. You know me, I'm the trivia boy. So I briefly talked with you about this before we started recording.
Yep.
Gio Pontecorvo wrote the music for the Battle of Algiers, but he was classified as a melodist composer in Italy. He was required to work with another composer as well. And that other composer was his good friend, Ennio Morricone, who collaborated with him. Now, do you know anything about Ennio Morricone, Jonathan?
I don't. No, but I also don't follow, soundtrack. What's the word? Composers as well as you.
As I do, yeah.
It's your area of study, so I leave that to you.
Well, you would have heard his stuff before. He is probably one of the most influential composers of all time, probably next to
a regular Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's up there with your Hans. He influenced a lot of Hans Zimmer's stuff.
Yeah, okay.
As well as a whole bunch of other styles and genres. Danger Mouse, Dire Straits, Radiohead, Muse, Metallica, to name a few.
Yeah, okay, far out.
His influence is rather... It's got a lot of reach. He's worked with all of Sergio Leone's films, and there's a couple of them that are in the top 250. We've got The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which came out in the same year as the Battle of Algiers, 1966. And the score for that is considered to be one of the most influential soundtracks of all time. So look forward to that one. He's worked with all of Giuseppe Tornatore's films since Cinema Paradiso, which is in the top 250. So you'll be listening to Morricone's work in that. He's worked very closely with Tarantino for a lot of his films, including Hateful Eight, Django Unchained, and Inglourious Basterds.
Far out, okay.
His music has been reused in a lot of those films. He's basically... He created the Western soundtrack in my mind. He really set the standard for what sets the tone audibly for a Western film. With all of Sergio Leone's work and Once Upon a Time in the West, he really sets the bar for all those films. And he is currently 91 years old, so I'm really hoping he doesn't.
Wow.
I'm really hoping he doesn't drop off the perch this year. And I want him to keep going. He's still active, so
Wow,
He's still composing, so I really hope that he sticks with us and continues to write more and more.
Keeps it going.
Yeah, amazing stuff. But yeah, he helped work with Gio Pontecorvo on this one. There's solo...
Alright, was that one of his early works then?
Yes, yeah. His earliest work, I think, was For a Few Dollars More with Sergio Leone.
Wow.
In 1965. Again, take that with a pinch of salt. He might have done some other works, but he tends to, when he works with someone, he will work with them long term. So he really sticks with his directors, and really he will compose if you work well with him, then he will continue to compose for many films to come. So I love his work, and to know that he was a small part of this film made me very happy.
That's really cool.
And then the other bit of trivia that I had was about Sadi Youssef, who plays El Hadi Jafar, and in the Battle of Algiers. The film was inspired by the book, forgive me for my pronunciation, Souvenirs de la Bataille d'Alger. Just throw that out
Souvenirs
there.
of the Battle of Algiers?
I would say so.
Okay.
He was an FLN military commander, and it was his account of the campaign. Youssef wrote the book while he was held as a prisoner of the French, and the book served as a way to boost morale for the FLN and the other militants. After independence, the French released Youssef, and he became a leader in the new government. And then the Algerian government then backed the adapting of his memoir as a film. And then that was when Youssef approached the Italian director Gio Pontecorvo and screenwriter Franco Solinaz with the project and the script and the screenplay, which his version didn't have any conversations or plot. It was just
shot like a...
It was just the thing, really. Yeah. It was just the campaign. As I stated earlier on in the podcast, the Italian producers rejected it because it was too biased towards the Algerians, which... Right, okay. Naturally, I mean, it would be biased to the Algerians. He was an FLN military commander. Of course, he would be writing with bias. Yeah. So to have this third party of Gio Pontecorvo and Franco Solinaz is, that I think that is why it is so unbiased and neutral. So, yeah, I just found that interesting that they chose to include... That is really, really interesting. Sadi Youssef, he was there. He was in it. And he acts in this film.
He acts in it, yeah.
I think he's...
That's freaky.
Yeah. And obviously, he's not an actor. He wouldn't have a day's worth of acting experience in him. So to see him give the performance that he did in the film is, it's
pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty phenomenal. Yeah. So, that was the only real important bits of trivia that I could find relevant to the film and weren't relevant to
the only bits of trivia that we can say within 45 minutes.
Yeah.
There are plenty of bits of trivia out there that will take you 2 hours to read.
Yeah, and totally. If you want to go, if this interests you and you want to go find out more about this, by all means, go and find out more.
There's so much.
If you find anything else interesting, let us know. Because anything that is interesting and palatable, we are more than happy to digest and read. So yeah, if you guys find anything out there, throw it at us. I would love to find out more information about this. But I would love to find it in a form that is not that one article that I read earlier. Where I have to use like a thesaurus just to be able to understand.
Plain English, please.
Yeah, what the hell actually is going on. But yeah, you got anything else, John?
No, I guess we'll just rotate out. I was thinking about talking very briefly about what our plans for the podcast in the next couple episodes is.
Yep.
So I think briefly mentioned this, but we have our own little list of films that are not on the 250, but films that we humbly think that should be. So we're going to knock out. So we're gonna have 5 actual episodes, and then we're gonna have a bonus episode, and then go back and forth. And that's partly just because we have a bunch of them, and it's also partly because there's a couple of spots where there's a whole bunch of dramas in a row.
And John doesn't want to get depressed.
Yeah. So we are going to have Aladdin as our next episode 5.
Yep.
And then, did we decide on what we wanted bonus episode 1 to be? I'm kind of vibing Casino Royale.
We could do Casino Royale.
It's on the top of the list.
Yeah, we could smash Casino Royale.
We'll do the one good James Bond film, Casino Royale.
Change my mind.
Change my mind. Matthew, if you're listening.
Yeah.
No,
I think no. I think he agrees. Oh, okay, actually, good. No. I think he thinks Spectre is the best.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Spectre is not on our bonus list.
No.
Because it is... You know what? Spectre is fine. It's fine.
Hot take over here.
It's fine, all right? It's just fine. There are other things I'd rather be watching than Spectre. Let's say that.
Okay, so we'll do Casino Royale. How about that?
Casino Royale. I do adore that film.
I'd love to look at that film critically. So let's do that.
100%.
That sounds great.
We'll poke that one in the little gap.
Yep.
So we're going to contrast this extremely gritty, realistic war film with my boy Robin Williams. And no, it's not Danny DeVito. It's who plays Iago?
Yeah. Gilbert Gottfried.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Wow!
We're gonna work out of Gilbert Gottfried and Robin Williams who's an Andy and who's an Andrew.
Oh, actually, yes, that is gonna.
We will discuss that on that episode. Yeah.
If you want to follow us on our socials, our Twitter and Instagram are 250 Pod. That's TwoFiveOh Pod. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram.
With Twitter, Instagram, we have an email.
Yes.
We also have a link to the full list at bit.ly/250pod, same spelling as the others. If you're sharing it around, it is sptfy.com/250pod. We've got all the URLs. We snaffled them all up.
Yep.
We got every one of them.
Try registering 250. You can't.
You can't. Well, no, wait. 250pod. People had already taken 250.
Oh, really?
250pod.com. Yeah, we've already got it.
Yeah, don't try it.
Don't try, please.
Please don't try it.
Please don't try it. I can't afford it.
We also have our own personal Letterboxd accounts. Letterboxd is a website for logging and reviewing films that you've watched. You can find more succinct, compact written reviews of films that from the films that we've watched here on the 250, as well as just other films that I've been watching. My Letterboxd is IENZOKNIGHT. That's Ienzo Knight with a K. All one word, all lowercase.
And mine is Upa, 3 U's, UUUPAH. I'm going to try and start putting little reviews on there.
Just do like a couple paragraphs.
A little something. Yeah. I'm going to put up the Battle of Algiers and it'll say, oof, 4 stars.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so mixed on this. It was a very good film, but it's just like...
It's a hard one to digest, I think.
I need to watch like 2 seasons of The Office to just wash this off of me. I need to go watch some Corgi videos.
Yeah, go to r/iBleach or something and just
something like that.
Really sort yourself out. But yeah, no, don't worry about it. Next week will be better. We got next week.
Not better. It will be more wholesome.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Not better.
Not better.
Well, thank you for tuning into the 250, and we look forward to seeing you real soon.
Bloody next time, mate. notes.
Take care. Have a nice day. Look after
See
yourself.
you later.
Eat.
Douglas, what do you think of this dumb Australian, pseudo-Australian bit that I put on? Is it funny? Have I ruined myself by
Are you doxing yourself right now? What's going on?
No, not doxing. I just put on this fucking dumb bogan voice and I say mate a lot, and it's not funny.
Well, surely it's appealing to our international viewers. I mean, listeners.
I guess so. Do we have a sexy accent?
What do you mean?
I'm asking the international viewers.
Oh, as in someone who has a sexy accent.
Yes.
Well,
do we have a sexy accent? No, because we have Australian accents. Does that make us sexier?
Oh, us. No.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
All right. I'll see you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.